There's a particular kind of madness that comes with spending too many hours in front of ancient inscriptions. I know this firsthand. You stop seeing the symbols. You start seeing the spaces between them. It happened to me in Cairo, in a basement archive that smelled of dust and something older, something that had no business still having a smell after 3,000 years. I was working through a set of photographs. Not originals, nobody gets originals anymore. Photographs are photographs, third or fourth generation copies, the kind where the contrast is already shot and you're half guessing at the edges. The inscription was standard enough. Offering formula, title sequence, the usual honorifics carved in the usual order. I'd seen the same pattern 400 times. My notes were on autopilot. My coffee was cold. And then I stopped. Not because of what was carved. Because of what wasn't. There was a gap. Small, maybe 2 finger widths, between a determinative and the royal cartouche that followed it. Meaningless, on the surface. Stonemasons leave gaps. Chisels slip. 3,000 years of settling shifts things a millimeter here, a millimeter there. Except this gap was deliberate. I can't explain how I knew. I just knew, the way you know when a sentence in a letter is hiding something, when the words on the page are not quite the words the writer meant. The surrounding inscription was perfectly spaced. Mathematically consistent. Whoever carved this was a professional, working from a template, with zero tolerance for error. The gap was intentional. I photographed it. Measured it. Went back to the hotel and spent 4 hours with a reference grid and a magnifying program on my laptop, comparing the proportions to every known inscription from the same period. The gap corresponded to a removed element. Something had been there and was taken out, not chiseled away, not plastered over, but lifted cleanly, as if it had been set in rather than carved. A separate piece. An insert. I found 3 more in the same sequence. All removed. All in positions that, if occupied, would have altered the meaning of everything around them, not slightly, not subtly, but fundamentally. The inscription without the inserts was a dedication. With them, based on positioning and the grammatical logic of the surrounding text, it would have been something closer to an instruction. An instruction for what, I couldn't determine. Not that night. But here's what stayed with me, what still stays with me. The Egyptians had a concept with no clean translation in any modern language. The closest approximation is something like the knowledge that must not travel. Not secret knowledge. Not forbidden knowledge. Something more specific, knowledge that was considered dangerous not because of what it contained, but because of what happened to those who carried it from one context to another. Certain things were meant to be understood only in place. Only in context. Only by those who already knew enough to find them. The gaps weren't censorship. They weren't erasure. They were a filter. If you saw only the inscription, you got the official version. The approved meaning. The story that was meant for everyone. But if you saw the gaps, if you knew to look for them, knew what their positions meant, knew how to reconstruct the missing elements from the surrounding syntax, you got something else entirely. A second text, invisible to anyone who wasn't already looking for it. I've thought about this for years. About what it means that an ancient civilization developed a system of communication that was literally hidden inside its official communication. Not coded. Not encrypted. Just structured to be invisible to anyone who approached it with the wrong assumptions. We assume ancient writing was meant to be read. What if some of it was meant only to be found? There's a difference. A significant one. Reading is passive. You receive what's given. Finding requires you to already know the shape of what's missing, to recognize an absence, to understand that the blank space is load-bearing, that the silence is part of the architecture. I still have those photographs. I still look at them. The gaps haven't changed. But every time I look, I'm less sure I've understood them fully. Which is, I suspect, exactly the point. Some inscriptions were written for everyone. Some were written only for the people who already